Hi, my name is Joseph Saine, and I'm a therapeutic bodyworker and somatic practitioner based in the mountains of northern New Mexico. And I'm a teacher with Alchemical Alignment, teaching modules 1 through 7. Yeah, so what drew me to Alchemical Alignment was a series of unexpected and strange events. I was going through a very challenging time in my life, both professionally and personally. And I was surprised when Alchemical Alignment landed in my lap because I didn't think I was looking for more schooling. I felt like I was pretty complete. And when I started to look at the curriculum, I thought, I don't really need to do this. This is stuff I already know. It's totally interesting and seems great, and Bridget seems amazing, but it's not really something that I need. But something kept nagging at me, and I uh, sat with it. And even though my intellect was saying, you don't need this, something in my heart said, this is important. Just give it a try. And I was really glad that I did. So it was really just like a little intuition that led me there. Before I started practicing alchemical alignment, I was practicing more hands-on, less verbal work. And over time, I started to recognize that there were maybe a third of the clients that I was seeing who felt like they really needed something else. And I would generally refer them to other people. But what started to emerge was the capacity to meet more and more needs, especially around really, really difficult, traumatic histories that are hard to put words to, things that feel um, also like they're really sensitive and difficult to receive too much intimacy too quickly. And what I really noticed was that Alchemical Alignment offered empowerment to a lot of my clients in the sense that it really was including them more in the process, including their cognitive sense of what was happening and leaving them with a sense of empowerment to be able to actually reclaim these inherent healing capacities that are a part of their being and existence in the world. Alchemical Alignment has offered me a really wonderful plethora of tools that are really powerful in meeting various states of consciousness, states of being, traumatic imprints, as well as subtler things that aren't necessarily easy to label. And so I feel a sense of capacity and a really wide range of um, ways of meeting people when they're going through all kinds of things. Yeah. I've been thinking about alchemical alignment lately as a process of inquiry and personal and collective transformation that really leaves room for you to come to your own conclusions. It's really not an assimilationist theory or a bunch of techniques or practices as much as it is about sort of fleshing out the maps of your own reality in order to be able to have a little more coherence and capacity to meet other people in the vast territories that tend to be harder to put words to, the parts of our experience that tend to sort of be tucked away into the corners or left behind or swept under the rug. It's like a really beautiful kind of combination of both a deep attunement with a kind of stillness and a darkness, in the sense of a healthy darkness that's saying, I don't have to try so hard to get somewhere, at the same time as this kind of bright light that's saying, and look at all of these different parts of who we are. Could they all be included here in some way? Could we make space for them? And could we learn how to meet them better so that we're not scrambling through conflict constantly, kind of losing ourselves in the battle? What I'm the most excited about when I'm teaching is holding a space that's supportive to people's personal transformation while connecting with larger collective processes of transformation. And I'm the most excited in alchemical alignment about the capacity that the work has to address intergenerational trauma, intercultural trauma, the kinds of trauma that we have really hard time putting words to, or knowing how to even begin to address in ourselves, let alone within larger communities, especially communities that don't have access to this kind of therapeutic work. And so I'm really excited about just creating more coherence around the challenges that we're facing as humanity, and helping practitioners, and especially people who aren't necessarily practitioners in the conventional sense, but people who are living the reality of great challenges in the world, to meet them with more inherent health and connection with a larger intelligence that can hold these greater big forces that we're processing inside of ourselves and in our communities. I would say that what I uniquely bring is a background that is very cross-disciplinary. So I haven't only been a body worker. Most of my life, I've been doing a lot of ecological restoration work with communities, mostly indigenous communities and queer rural communities. And that's what led me into trauma and somatic work, because those communities that I was dealing with and working with, that I'm still working with, have huge mountains of trauma that they're trying to make sense of, some of them, and some of them have a hard time even being able to see it because it's so intense and so deeply there. Having had a background in working with intercultural and marginalized communities, and my relationship with nature and the ecological reality that I'm connected with is a very important part of how I work, and what my somatic and bodywork practice, I would say, really draws from in a big way. And besides that, I would say I have a very intellectual approach that can sometimes not be the right fit for everybody. And I would say for some people, it's really fun to go and deep dives into theory. Um, and that's something that I really enjoy. And in terms of the more sort of heart coherence and emotional somatic landscapes that we work with in alchemical alignment, those are things that I care about tremendously as well. And my intellectual side can be a little bit kind of big, and I would say I have like a fervent hunger for knowledge and for learning, and so I can be a little passionate in that way, which I think is fun for some people. So yeah. There's a part of me that would say that alchemical alignment could be useful for almost anyone, but this is a particularly focused course that's for practitioners, especially. So I would say if you're a practitioner that is experiencing any kinds of challenge around how do I hold space for such great difficulties and big fields of trauma and forces that are overwhelming, as well as even some of the most subtle kind of blocks in people's systems, or the places where people are really stuck in old patterns that are really hard to even speak to. If you're noticing that in your practice and you'd like to have a forum that's more about supporting you rather than trying to make you into a practitioner that's a certain way, but more of a process that's about finding your inherent gifts and your inherent capacity to be able to address those kinds of issues, as well as being given a lot of really amazing tools that can be added to your tool belt, then I would say yes, alchemical alignment would be something I would highly recommend for you. And I would say follow your heart. If it's not the time, like, don't force it. But I think everybody who comes to these courses really just has a feeling about it and kind of knows that this is what I need, this is the right time. And so I would just say, take a pause and listen to yourself, listen to your heart, and just see if it feels right to you.